Poseidon Thompson. I am interviewing Travis Vance for an Anth 205 project on his life growing up with a Orthodox Jewish family. Are you ready to begin with questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. What was life like in your community before going to public school?
I was really young, so I don't really remember a whole lot because, 5. Um, so the little I do remember is I remember seeing my community as a very loving, caring, kind of just a big family. I honestly thought everybody that I was around when I was a kid was related to me, somehow. I later find out no, none of these people related to me. They were just we just went to the same temple and they wanted to help us out, and so every time, I swear, even sometimes they would come to our house and drop off pallets of food, canned food, and piles of Tupperware of just food they've cooked that are just, and they hand-me-downs and toys and all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're really kind. And then when we kind of moved away and I started school, I didn't see them as much. They didn't come. I don't want to say it was because of the fact that I was going to elementary school, normal elementary school instead of a Jewish school. It was just I don't really know. I just kind of stopped interacting with them as much. We didn't go to temple as much. We kind of distanced ourselves, but that could be from a plethora of reasons of why we stopped going as much.
Okay. When do you think you began to lose the ability to speak or understand Yiddish or Hebrew?
I wouldn't say I ever really lost it, but I definitely can't. If you a fluent speaker were to ever start talking to me, I could probably understand a couple words, but I wouldn't understand anything they're saying anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just, I really am sad about that because it's something I've always kind of wish I could pick back up. But probably around second grade is when I kind of fully stopped speaking Yiddish and fully started speaking English. And kind of literally my first day of kindergarten, they told my family that they were you need to start speaking English around him. He needs to get used to it. Well, so for a really long time, I felt really isolated because I couldn't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand anyone. And it sucked. Until probably my second year of first grade, I didn't know what anyone was saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it really sucked as well because that's my first year of first grade. I had cancer, so I didn't know what anything was happening half of the time, and it sucked. And I couldn't tell anyone I was what was happening. So a lot of the time I was just really sick. And when I would try to tell people, but I was speaking in not English, I was speaking in Yiddish, I'd get punished. So I kind of, I was nonverbal up until I was 5, so I wasn't very good at talking either. So I just kind of got stuck in a very isolated world for a long time. And then it took a long time to learn English as well, because I was being taught by people that didn't know Yiddish in the first place. They were used to teaching Spanish students English, They were not they didn't know what I was saying. They didn't know how to teach me. They did what the best they could, and I'm so happy that, it could have been a lot worse. I've definitely heard some way worse stories than, what happened to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you think that that those problems of not being able to convey yourself do you think they still carry over now, as if there are emotions that you can't convey in English?
No. And I think that's because of the fact, like, I kind of was, like, forced into, like, so many different, like, psychiatric, like, places when I was young because I was kind of, like, deemed, like, a problem child because of, you know, I didn't have the best upbringing, definitely. So I kind of just got forced in a lot of different therapy, like, facilities and stuff like that. So I got to learn my emotions and learn how to deal with them and cope with them at a very young age, and learned what worked for me, which was definitely not the best because a lot of the time those places didn't really listen to me, and they kind of, like, a lot of them would just kind of over medicate me and would cause problems to be worse. And you know, I definitely am happy I was able to learn my emotions at such a young age, but also I missed out on a lot of opportunities to just be a kid. I was over analyzing myself all the time when I was like 7 years old.
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit already, but how did it feel for you to change from a space full of Jewish individuals to a space where in the rural Midwest, a lot of non-Jewish individuals, you might be the first Jewish person they ever meet, especially at a young age?
I kind of like, kids can be kids, especially at that age of like kindergarten and first grade. You kind of see this person and like this fat ginger kid, that's like really pale and taller than majority of you because fucking I had a horrible growth spurt when I was young and it sucked. It was not fun. It hurt a lot actually. And then they don't speak your language. I was just perfect for bullying. I wore clothes that like were too small because I was wearing just hand-me-downs, and I was plus size, so it was hard to find things that were my size. So I was definitely easy to pick on, and it definitely didn't help because I knew what was happening to me was like bad, but I didn't know how. I didn't know why it was bad. Like, I knew these people didn't like me, but I didn't know why for a long time. And then it got explained to me because I was a very sick child as well. So I was always in like the nurse office, and the nurse had like saw what was happening to me and explained to me because she went to my temple and she knew me, which was really nice for me to have that like kind of like sanctuary. I have someone that like also speaks my language and allows me to speak that. It was like my only person. But she saw and she like explained to me like, hey, what these people are doing to you, like, it's not okay. Like, do you need help? And I told her I didn't know that. Like, I didn't like it, but I thought they were playing, but I just didn't like it. Because I didn't know. I only grew up around my family. Up until this point, I had only been around, like, other people like me. So it was hard for a while. And then I got used to it. I was able to blend in and get to a point where I kind of melted into everybody else.
Do you think having that one individual that did speak your language and went to temple with you, do you think that helped the process of blending in? Or
yes and no, because I kind of got picked on kind of more because I would only want to be around the nurse, But also, it was good to have someone, because I wasn't able to speak at home either, to just have anybody to speak to. It probably she's the only reason I probably got it through those years.
Mm.
That's crazy to say because I was in like kindergarten, first grade. But yeah, definitely. There's some pros and some cons to it, but I really appreciate her. And yeah, I'm so happy I had her.
Do you think there was ever a point that you reached where, as you were kind of assimilating into an American culture, that you began to feel not Jewish enough for your home life, but not like American enough for a traditional Midwestern town?
My family kind of like, once we kind of like left, I never really left. I kept going to temple with my sisters. I would just go by myself. My uncle would drive me, and my sisters, and come. He would wait and pick us up and take us home. And he also grew up Jewish and went to private school and grew up in the same community. He just chose to follow a different path in life, and me too.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely like my mom kind of, when I was a kid, before I really understood anything, like her mental illness or anything, or really, like, just anything, I kind of felt like my mom turned her back on, like, our community. I kind of, like, almost looked at my mom for, like, a couple years, like, she was, like, this evil person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also because of the people around me. Like, when she turned her back and my uncle turned her back, it almost felt like I was also shunned because of their choices to go. Like, my uncle, he decided he wanted to be a tattoo artist, and he wanted to travel, and he wanted to divorce his wife and be a gay man. Because that was him. And he decided he didn't want to hide that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a kid, I never looked at my uncle like when he chose to leave. Like, I didn't look at him like he was evil, but I looked at my mom like she was.
Mm.
When I was a kid, I felt a little guilty about that. Definitely don't know. Because my mom chose to leave for drugs and prostitution, and because she just didn't want to stop stealing and hurting people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's not what my community stood for.
Mm-hmm.
Is we help people and we bring them up, and they had helped her for so long, and it's the fact that she was stealing from them and pretty much hurting them and hurting the community. She was almost pretty much kicked out, not really, chose to not come back.
Mm-hmm. Do you think being lower class in general while you were growing up had any effect on how you adjusted to going into a more American culture, or do you think it also affected your mother's choices growing up as well?
Well, my mom didn't grow up poor.
Mm-hmm.
My mom grew up really rich, actually. And I probably would have also grown up rich if we stayed in the community. But no, thank you. I'm quite happy the way I went. But I would say not really. I mean, I got called poor, but it didn't really matter to me, because, like, I knew I was poor. And I lived in a poor neighborhood. And all these other people were my neighbors. So it didn't matter, because they're in the same situation I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really care, I guess, when I was a kid. I was like, that's just stupid. Just because you have new shoes and I don't doesn't make you have any more money than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You're just your parents just love you and prioritize you.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of sucks that way. That's kind of how I thought when I was a kid, but
Yeah. Before we met today, we had spoke a little bit about you being entered into beauty pageants by your grandmother. Do you think you felt pressured by her to perform in these beauty pageants, and why do you think you felt that way, or why do you think she would want you to feel that way?
Well, my family kind of instilled in my head that like love is something like that needs to be earned. Like, you need to give me something in order for me to love you. And I'm a kid. I don't have any belongings to give you.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do everything. Look at him. Like, you tell me so I can make you love me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I would perform, and I would perform in like Yiddish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't speak. Whenever they would ask me questions, I would like, I had like my grandma standing off stage like mouthing to me like what they were like actually saying. And it was really hard, and I'd respond and they didn't know what I was saying, and then my grandpa would be next to the judges and he'd translate. And I also would sing and perform, and just seeing like my grandma, my grandpa, all my family, just like seeing them like come together, it kind of just made me feel like I had to keep doing it. Because like I felt like for a while it was my job to keep my family together, because when I wouldn't do what they would say, they would just be fighting. So I just thought that's what I was supposed to do. And then I got cancer, and I said, no more. I have skin cancer. I can't do this. I'm sick. And I didn't talk to my grandparents for like 2 years after that, because they were really upset.
We spoke a little bit before recording about your gender identity and how you are transgender. And firstly, I want to ask, when did you realize this about yourself? How did your family initially react? And how did this kind of conflict with the pageantry that you were being asked to do?
Well, I got cancer, and then I stopped doing pageants, and I stopped talking to my grandparents. So it was just my mom, me, my uncle, and my sister Ava was born at this time. And then my uncle at this time was in the process of divorcing his wife, so she was also there, but that doesn't really matter. So I was when I was going through chemo and I was like losing my hair, and I got to like kind of just like wear comfy baggy clothes all the time. I didn't really want to wear tight clothes, so I would steal like my uncle's clothes or my mom's boyfriend's clothes, or just any baggy clothes, and men's were the baggiest I could find. And I kind of, when I like look at myself with like shorter hair and like more male clothing, I kind of just like felt like I was like in my skin. And when I was like doing pageants, and I think this is like what I used to cope with it, is like it felt like I was putting on somebody else's skin, and just like being that person and then not being that person afterwards. You know, I think it was easier, definitely, as well, because I fought my grandma multiple times. It was not easy for her, definitely, to get me into it, and then I realized it made her happy. So I just kind of coped and did it until I couldn't. And when I told my mom when I kind of like felt more comfortable like boys' clothes, and I said, after, I remember this, and I was like, after I'm done with like chemo and my hair grows back, can I keep it short? I like it short. I think it looks good. And she said, yeah. Do you feel like a boy? And I said, I think boys have it easier. And I'd rather be born a boy. And she just kind of was like, you could be trans and you could be all, and she started naming like different things I could be, and she said, whatever you are, it doesn't matter. You're just you, okay? And I'm pretty happy she told me about that. She was definitely not a good mom at all. But to have someone, when coming out, say, like, it doesn't matter what you identify as, because you're just going to be you, no matter what. I definitely think that helped to have someone, because there's so many people out there that don't have someone that are allowing them to be them. And the fact that she allowed me to be Travis and not be something I'm not is truly special.
I agree. Do you think that you coming about and realizing your identity and things like that, other than, you know, the positive experience you had with your mother, conflicted with the cultural norms of your Jewish community or your family?
At this point, I was almost kind of separating myself, because I was going through a lot with home life. Like I said, I was kind of deemed that problem child, but it wasn't really because I was a problem child. I was undiagnosed, first off. I'm autistic as fuck. And I have major depressive disorder, and I was also being physically abused and sex trafficked at this time. This started at when I was 5, and it ended when I was 9. So I was definitely going through a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of, what was the question again?
How did being transgender conflict with your cultural norms and your family and such?
Okay, forgot what the point I was trying to make. I was kind of just like, looking at God, and I was like looking at all the things I was taught, and I was like looking at my community. I was like kind of disgusted. I was like, you see me covered in bruises. You see this, and you're not helping me. And it made me angry, and I was kind of almost in the process of like almost turning my back. Probably when I was like 7 or 8 is when I started like turning my back on my community and not really looking to God or anything, and just kind of was doing my own thing. And I would go to temple once in a blue moon, but I really didn't care anymore. It was kind of like just existing in the world for a while.
So you touched a little bit on what else had happened in your childhood and the abuse that you faced.
Yeah.
And we had talked about a little bit that you had been eventually taken out of your parents' custody by foster care.
Yeah.
Do you think that foster care, when you were in their custody, tried to categorize you or put you in a situation where you didn't feel like you?
Oh, definitely. More than once. It definitely, like, the multiple DCS workers I had, I definitely, like I said, I was undiagnosed. Well, I was 9, and then when I turned 10, I was able to get diagnosed. But I didn't really have anyone still listening to me and advocating for me. And when I went to foster care, I had went by Travis since I was 7. And then I was forced to go back by my dead name for a really long time until I was like 13. And then I was like, guys, I've been trans since I was 7. Can you please take me serious? I haven't dropped it. It's not a phase. Can you please just call me Travis? It's killing me. If you want me to get better, you need to you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the first time I kind of like ever spoke up for myself, and it definitely felt really empowering, but it definitely also they kind of saw me more as a delinquent at that point. They saw me as like aggressive and kind of dangerous, and that's when they locked me away, at Crossroads, and it sucked. I wasn't bad.
And what was Crossroads?
Crossroads is a residential facility. So a residential facility is like a juvenile detention facility, but it has therapy elements into it. And you get to keep your clothes. It's literally the only bright side about it. Everything else, it's literally just jail. It sucks. I saw a lot of bad things there, and it sucked. Yeah.
So they locked you away for that after you kind of stood up for yourself?
Yeah, I didn't really care, though. I had went through so many things at that point where I was just like, at least now I can, at least know what's gonna happen the next day. But it was really scary. My first, day at Crossroads, not even my first night, it was, the first, 3 hours, this 19-year-old girl on a unit that had, a 6-year-old girl and, 16-year-old girls and, so many different ages and, full-on grown 19-year-old women, and she fully got naked and, smeared herself in shit, and it was fucking scarring. And I remember calling my DCS worker, that night, because she told me to call her that night, and I called her and I told her what happened, and she was like, yeah, but did anything happen to you? And I said, no. And she said that you're gonna be okay. And I was scared. And I kind of I didn't give her another call ever again. I, never called anybody ever again. The 2 years I was there, I never made a phone call after that. Because I didn't have anyone to call.
Do you think that when you were in foster care and out of the residential, do you think that they ever kind of pushed you away from embracing yourself in any cultural sense, and tried to just push you to kind of fit in?
I was kind of told to be small. And when these foster homes wouldn't work out, even after, I got out of Crossroads and went back into foster care and went back into the system, I was kind of told to be small, told to be moldable, and I was almost, punished and shamed when I was removed or, things just didn't work out. I had this foster home, and this lady, her name was Tammy, and she sucked. And it was the first foster home I had since Crossroad, and I was so excited to get out. I just didn't care. I didn't see any of the red flags. I was 14. I was just, so ready to, get out of there and just, go, finally be a part of life. This is, 2020 still. This is, the end of 2020. So, COVID is still, going on. So I kind of was sheltered from COVID and stuff for a while. So I didn't really know how bad it was. But I wasn't very smart going into school, so I struggled a lot with my grades, but I wasn't in school for 2 years, and they kind of just threw me in, expecting that I knew everything that a 7th grader second semester should, I didn't. And all my grades were failing. And she would just, force me to sit there for, pretty much, from Friday to, when I get off the bus until Monday that morning. I'd get on the bus, sit at the table, and study. And just, I wasn't allowed to get up. I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom. I wasn't allowed to eat. I remember after like the 6th time of this happening, I called my DCS workers. I was like, I can't keep doing this. I don't feel good. Like, I feel sick. I think this is affecting me. So I called my DCS worker, and I remember her almost seeming annoyed that I called her about the fact that this was happening. It was abuse. And the next day I was in a new home, but it just sucked that I was like, I waited this long to tell you, and this is still how you react. It sucked. It really did suck.
Do you feel like there were times, and I think you kind of mentioned this in the feeling small or being told to be small. Do you feel like there were times where you had to kind of leave parts of you at the door, in which to be loved or accepted by people?
Definitely kinda, but it was more along the lines of they were literally just telling me that there's something wrong with me, and in order to ever find a family and be adopted, I need to change everything about me. And it definitely tried, but I'm like, at this point, like 14, about to be 15, what 15, 14-year-old knows anything? Like, how am I supposed to figure myself out and be this perfect version of myself when I don't even know what's happening to my body? I don't even know what fucking algebra is. Like, I don't know what you want from me. So it definitely was really confusing and definitely didn't help. It was hard to be, I guess, that perfect person when I didn't know what that even looked like in the first place.
Earlier in the interview, we kind of touched on being too Jewish for American society and too American for Jewish society. But do you feel like there was a point, or is a point, where you were stuck in between, or where you don't fit into any group at all?
Well, let me say this. I don't regret, choosing to be agnostic. Because I feel like a spiritual person. I feel connected to so many things. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think having that connection to so many things means I am, like, doing something right, I'm doing something right somewhere. And I don't regret it. I do miss my community. I do miss my family. But also, my family and my community are not the same they were from when I was a child. And I don't think they were ever that good. I just think I was a child. And I chose to see the good in people. And now that I'm older and I'm able to see the bad, I don't want to be a part of them. And I don't want them to have a part of me. Because they're hurtful. They're harmful. But also, I don't really feel like I fit into, like, normal society, I guess. I don't really want to say I don't fit in anywhere either, because I have found my community in places, in so many places. There are so many different people out there that I know that have accepted me and loved me from so many different backgrounds. So I think it doesn't really matter about fitting in, because you could really create your own community from whatever. So it doesn't really matter to me.
Um, do you think, uh, although you've separated yourself from your community, and you don't really resonate with the cultural background that you have grown up with anymore, do you think you've been able to keep some of that, um, or change it in a way that fits you now that you aren't only part of that culture, or even if you were forced away from it?
I definitely try to be kind when I can. I try to be giving. I try to help people when I can. I try to be that kind of like vision I had when I was a kid, of my community.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it probably wasn't real, I like that. I liked I guess what I thought they were. And I think it's a good thing to follow. Just being kind to people and helping people when they need it. Even if you can't give them money or food or the clothes off your back, just being there for someone just to cry, like a shoulder to cry on, is truly special. And you can truly make a connection and a bond with someone just by being there and just saying, hey, how's your day? Be like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened, or oh, I'm so excited that that's happening for you. It could truly make a difference in someone's life and make them feel important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I took away from all my community. It's just kindness, even though I don't think they were ever actually kind.
Do you retain anything physically? Like I know you can't exactly speak the language. You can understand the language a little bit, but any foods, anything that you were taught as a child by your community?
Definitely food. Just like making food for people and feeding people has just always been really special to my heart. Even though like I definitely get stressed out by it because it can get overwhelming. Just like being able to cook a meal for people and have everyone be happy after the said meal and not be hungry, you know what I mean? It's just kind of reminds me a lot of my family and stuff, and my grandma and my grandpa as well. I've kind of always just had that big family setting, so I enjoy it. I enjoy the big meals, definitely. And I wouldn't say specifically any food really kind of called to me when I was a kid, because I was so excited to try a burger when I turned 13. I was like, I've seen these on TV, I've seen people eat these, I've seen these at school. This looks so good. I've been waiting for years to try this. So I like to share my culture with food, but I would definitely say I like American food. I like Western food.
Burger lived up to the hype for you?
Yeah, definitely. It was awesome. My first burger was a McDonald's burger. It was pretty good.
Moving back to some unfortunately more deeper questions, rather than burger. What were some of the hardest things, and I know we've touched here and there, but some of the hardest things to fight against, and like the hardest times for you upkeep your identity, whether that be cultural or your gender identity and things like that?
I don't know. I kind of just never really let anybody ever stop me. I guess. Even though they weren't calling me Travis.
What are some of the hardest things that you've had to fight against? And like the hardest times for you to upkeep your identity?
Definitely like I never really let anybody stop me from being Travis. Even though like DCS never really called me by my name. They didn't even call me by my Hebrew name. They called me Michaela. That wasn't even my name. My name is Michaela. So it kind of, I didn't really care. It got to a point where it just, if I let it bother me, I knew I couldn't progress like they wanted me to. So I kind of just desensitized myself to it. And it doesn't bother me anymore. And I'm happy now that I was able to desensitize myself to the misgendering and like the dead name calling, and I'm happy that I'm able to be that way, but it sucks that happened to me. And I wish I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah. And for the final question, I just wanted to ask, what would you do, or how do you think it could be helped for other children who might still be in the situation that you were in, where they're being told they have to speak a specific language, act a specific way, whether that be in the foster care system or just in public schools. How do you think that can be helped, and what would you tell kids like that?
Well, something I learned like in high school that I thought was like total bullshit is the mixing pot. I don't think kids should mix in. I don't think people should mix into anything, because here's the thing, so many different cultures are beautiful, and I'm happy that I've been able to be a part of all of them. And so many different, and I think forcing everyone to speak one language, yeah, it makes it easier for learning, but you shouldn't be forced to forget. You should be encouraged to celebrate yourself and not put down for wanting to, I think you shouldn't be forced. If something just doesn't feel right and doesn't suit you, that's okay. But you shouldn't be forced to not. You shouldn't be forced to believe in something you don't believe in, when you shouldn't be forced to not believe in something. You know what I mean? And I think it is important for people to remember their culture and know where they came from, because, it might be important to someone later down the line, that wants to know where they came from. So it's important to hand that down. And I think language is something that we've had since the dawn of time, and I think it is sacred. I think language and speaking to others is awesome. I know it definitely didn't start that way, but I do enjoy talking to people, and I'm happy that I'm able to communicate with people now.
What would you say to help like children that are in your situation? Like what would you say to them if you could?
Definitely just don't let other people make you forget who you are and where you came from. And I don't mean that it's the fact you should forgive your parents and you should let your family be a part of your life. I don't think blood and family matters. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying spiritually where you come from, and even not spiritually, just your past, but before you, your makeup, your ancestors, I think it matters, even if they were bad people, because it's important not to make those mistakes again. And when they are good people, it's important not to forget them. I think it is important to, and I think you should never forget it, and you shouldn't let people force you to forget it, and not let anybody force you to be something you're not.
Alright, well, I am out of questions, so if there's anything else you want to say?
No.
Alright, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Thank you for giving me the time to talk. I appreciate it.